Hey, this is our special city council meeting, budget workshop, Wednesday, September the 4th, 2024, 5 p.m. All
Mayor Round,
here.
Councilman Phillips, here, Councilman Richards, here, Councilman Pendergrass,
Here.
Councilman Diplomat here.
You're better at it.
Twice, I just.
2 days in a row.
All right, we'll hop into the old business here real quick. In your packets, the next couple of pages, we talked about yesterday, there were some questions about some of the stuff in there. The first one was for the legal services, Olmsted County. That's this top one. It's a copy of the invoice. That was for special assessment records. There were 692 records at $750 a piece, and 2 of them at 30, which gave us that $5,000 that was in that one. So, and then I know there was a planning and zoning, Jim, you had asked about that with the pay for that, kind of looking at that. This is what they had done last year. This was paid out January, you said? December, sorry, December of 2023. They got paid out, and there was only 2 of them that took payment. This was their payments. The other ones denied payment for it. So, and they kind of asked where they were at with that. So, I don't know, as we go into December, we can, I guess, evaluate if you want to. I always assume that everybody will take it if it's offered, so that's why we've left it at what it is. Beyond that, I guess kind of up to everybody else. So, any questions on old business? Okay.
For doing follow-up on that.
Yep. All right, so we're gonna move into today's workshop again. First off, before we do the first page on top after this is our salaries for the year for all employees. I know it's a little small, it's fitting all in there. Gives a breakdown, how many hours per week, times the week, times the hours. The proposed salary in here is a 5% increase. You'll see that in the city budgets as we go through. That's 2.5% from the city, 2.5 COLA cost of living there. That was just what was recommended by Mike Rubani, just to put in there as a placeholder that can be adjusted as needed. So you'll see the 2025 proposed, that's the hourly rate, if you will. And then their proposed what the salary would be. And that's the next one is general fund. Line 15 is an on-call provision. We've been working with Public Works here, talking about on-call and how they're gonna be paid out for on-call. And trying to figure that out. So working with Kane and those guys, I think we were looking at about $200 a week times the 52 weeks. And that gets you the on-call pay of $10,400. That's for them to hold the phone and basically be here at a moment's notice, more or less, within a reasonable time frame. With that, that's part of operating a 24/7 sewer water treatment facility. We gotta have someone there to be able to answer calls when needed. I think that's kind of fair because it does prevent them from leaving during those times. It's one of those things they're forced to stay close by and be able to respond. So.
I see we don't have any of the seasonal workers on here, so those are salary too.
Go over this first, okay, before we get into seasonal. You wanna go over those numbers again for the on-call?
Yep, so Kane had done it up, it's $200 a week for whoever's on call. So the 52 weeks. Right, that's how you get to the $10,400. Okay. Seasonal, we'll get into that more when Kane stuff, but Kane's decided that he would like to propose a new full-time employee to replace the seasonal employees. He feels that would be adequate coverage, but we'll get to that when we get into the public works at the later date, so. And then you'll see on here, we have a section for 100 hours of overtime. This is something that I haven't seen budgeted for. And the city's ultimately paying out one way or the other. Whether it be through comp time at the end of the year or, as we go. I know the city staff has expressed to me on multiple occasions, they would like to be paid out for overtime versus comp time.
That also went, I think, for this year too at the end, right, Renee, on what we had set up?
He's talking paying on our weekly or our bi-weekly.
So on the with the paycheck, so they get their overtime for the 80 hours, whatever, they get paid out right away, or they have the option. They still would have the option to do comp time, but So we're budgeting for 100 hours, because either way, they've been accruing overtime. It's gotta be paid, so whether it's paid as comp time or the overtime. It's something that needs to be put in the budget. I haven't seen that put into the budget in prior years.
I think if we do it in comp time, I'd like to see it done in a matter where it's paid out at that rate, even if you draw the hours over to the next year.
Okay.
Because if you earned it this wage, you shouldn't be able to collect it in another wage.
Well, comp times run a little bit different, but we'll get into that when we get into that later down the road. So again, just a placeholder here. And then you'll see in here water, sewer, again, Mike put in here, Mike Bubani helped lay this whole thing out. The 75,000 in for water and then 75,000 for sewer, those are the 7.5% that help offset the cost of salaries for employees.
And one thing that comes to mind here too is, I know we had talked even before you came about putting Kane on salary and adjusting salary. And I think, are we adjusting this or adding some pad into this to adjust salaries based on market?
Based on market, no, we just went with across the board because we haven't done a market study for the city,
Right.
so I don't know
Okay,
where we're at for that. So this was just a 5% across the board for everybody increase on their current 2024 rate. So as we get into those sections, you know, that's something that we can speak for each one
yeah.
as we go through.
Okay. So I'd like to make sure we do have something, because if we do market and we find that some are low, that we have the ability to move within that. That's my thought.
So we'll keep that in mind as we go
Yeah.
through with the salaries for each one. It's a good point there. So, and then kind of on the bottom, I just did a quick, you'll see straight underneath general fund and 100 hours, that's straight public work staff. That's what their section is. Cause I was doing mental math in my head on there. So if you have questions about that, so. So we'll move on here. I have 3 sections for you as we go through this. So same as yesterday, this is the proposed 2024 or 2025, the prelim that we have put together. This next one here, this is a breakdown of kind of the expenses for my areas, admin, mayor, all that stuff. And we'll go through each one. It'll make sense as we go through. Yeah, here's black and white. And then the last one is again, the same one, the revenue expenditure reports from yesterday. So the new one's the middle one here that gives a bit of a breakdown just to kind of help explain how I got to some of those numbers. On this, you'll see at the top, it says asking, that was gonna be my initial asking price. Even since then, on some of these, I have reduced it in the preliminary budget already to help bring down some of the numbers. So these numbers will be slightly different than these. These will be higher than what's actually in the prelim because I've reduced some of them already. So any questions on that?
You're saying these will likely be higher.
Yes, these will likely be higher than the preliminary ones. So we will start off the first section here with the mayor council section.
Or are we starting off on this?
Yep, so each one's, they're gonna be first page, right? Same thing. You kind of flip as you go, and then follow along here. So salaries, again, that's per city code. I left that at the 18,055. That gets paid out the end of the year for you folks. So that's in there. Same with the payroll taxes. That is just based off of the salary, so that would be what would be taken out. So nothing changes there. Council meeting food. We haven't used anything year to date. There was nothing used last year. I don't know if that's something you guys ever do. I left it at 300. I dropped it down from 330 last year to 300. And this one, I don't know. I mean, that's up to you guys.
I mean, we could be, I mean, just if we did water or whatever else that way, you know, or.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes we have like the community
Yeah.
meetings. I don't know if that
Or
comes out of
cookies,
this, if there's
cookies
cookies or something
that
like
way.
that.
Guys, we're fine with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
fine.
Yeah,
So coming through the next one here, you'll see in this, the lodging, meals and travel, I've kind of all adjusted their name. You'll see on the far left side from all like conference stuff to just, to make it simple, lodging, meals and travel. Looking at this, you'll see this gives again, the breakdown here on this sheet a little bit better. So lodging, what I did, the LMC conference this year's in Duluth. on these dates. The average hotel night stay is $150 per night, so that's about $450 per person. And what I did initially was I said, I would like to see everybody go, so that's why I put enough for 5 people in there. I did reduce it down to 2,000, cut a little bit off there, because I know probably everyone won't be able to make it or whatever the case may be, but I would like to see that increase from the previous year, because I think it's important for you folks to be able to attend these events if you choose to. So is there any problem with the 2,000? We think that's okay? Okay, same thing with meals. You'll see in here with the meals section. I based everything off of the Minnesota State rate of $64 a day. I went onto their stuff and kind of saw how they did the breakdown. 3 days, again, that's $190 a person. I know the city has it set up right now with just purchase what you will and reimburse. I like the state rate stuff because it sets it. We know no matter what, it's gonna be the same. And that always gives people whatever, but that's how I came to these numbers, was just using the state rate, because I think it's a good average. So you look at the LMC again, the same thing, $109 per person. Initially, it got me to $950. And then I also had 5 days for whatever else there may be. I know there's some other travel stuff that you folks go to that would afford as well some food when it's not offered, although typically it is offered. So I initially had 1,270. I did reduce that down to 1,000. So I think that's, at least if everybody goes to LMC, at least covers the LMC meal stuff. So thoughts? Sound good? Okay, state rate travel again. I changed it from mileage to travel because travel is more encompassing all across the board, and it's gonna be that way. These are all gonna be changed in each category, because like for me, travel, well, I've got an annual conference in, St. Louis or somewhere in Pittsburgh. Well, that's not mileage, it's travel. So there's airfare, there's car rentals, or stuff like that covers it. Anyway, state rate 67 cents a mile. Again, I did the round trip mileage to Duluth free all. It's 432 miles round trip, so that's $290 per person at the state rate, roughly $1,500. And then I put in there an extra $500 for whatever travel, other travel may, other events and stuff. So that was 2,000. I did reduce it to 1,000. Again, I was looking for places to cut back. So if you feel that 1,000 is okay, I can leave it. Otherwise, we can increase it. That's kind of up to you guys. Let's do your thoughts on that.
Well, you got, what is it, Day at the Capitol too? That's kind of a fun one to do. I know I had gone to that once. I think you did that last year too, didn't you, Ryland?
Yeah, I've been to several.
So I mean, that's one that could fit in there. I'm just, I mean, we can leave it that way. I was almost thinking that maybe,
If you look at the 24 and 23 mileage, it's 159, 378, so I think 1,000 is.
Okay, and that's kind of, I was looking at that too, when it was lower. I don't know if people just weren't submitting it or just eating the costs or whatever. We obviously want you to be reimbursed for your travel fees. So, it's one of those, it's really up to you guys. I thought 1,000 was a good increase from previous years. And would help cover, but 2,000 was my ultimate.
I just explained.
1,000.
That or 1,500, split the difference.
Pardon?
Or do you want to do 1,500? You want to leave it at 1,000 or 1,500? Because you had 2,000 to start. And that way, I mean, we don't have for the other, but again, I don't know if everybody's gonna go up to Duluth. I'm just trying to think of what's available that way, so.
I think we might be all right, given the fact that, bank that not everyone's gonna be able to go.
And have that slush fund that's in there, okay,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay. We'll leave that 1,000. So moving on to fees and memberships, that's just change from conference fees. Again, LMC conference, if we get the early registration, that's $275 a person. Again, for everybody, that was $1,375, and then $500 for other training. They do offer a lot of online training. Some of them do cost IT, also printer maintenance. We haven't gotten it hooked up. We do have a printer to put in here for you guys. So I know that was asked for. We got the printer. It's sitting in our boiler room right now, and I'm probably gonna end up putting it over in that area. So just stuff like that. It was covered under the fees and membership stuff. Again, I had 18 and some change. I did just kind of leave that at 1,800. Because if somebody misses the early registration, it does go up a couple $100. So it's one of those that's a kind of a coverage for us as well. So if everybody's okay with 1,800, we'll do that.
We don't know. Printer's gonna
Right.
break down or
Yep.
whatever.
And then the last one here, others, this was previously dues and memberships, I changed it to other, this is where we're looking at, I've gone to a lot of these events and networking and meeting a lot of council members, I see a lot of uniformity. They have clothing, they got polos, stuff like that, I think that'd be cool for you guys to have that. Budget $100 per person to get a couple polos, and whatever else we may choose. So that was 500 to that, and then I would also like to start as we advance our programs and your guys' access to the programs, a lot of that needs technology. So I've talked with a lot of city administrators, and what they do is they offer $1,000 to their members for their term, their 4-year term. And every 4 years, if you need a new one, it is available after 4 years, but you get $1,000 every 4 years to get a computer tablet of your choice. There's some where they've just purchased them for them, and not everybody likes them or doesn't know how to use them, and so they end up not using them. This allotment makes it so you can purchase something that works for you. And so as we move forward with our technologies and stuff, you can use this at council meetings and you can have your packets up, you can play around on them, and you can utilize those. So that's why I put that in the budget.
That's better than what we're dealing right now with, the Chromebooks, that.
Yeah, I hate
6
Chromebooks.
years or 8
Do they have
years old.
solitaire on them?
Completely.
Hey, whatever you want to. So like I said, with that 1,000, it does allow you to purchase what's best for you. You know, it's something that I've got.
We're in need of those,
Yeah,
yeah. 'cause
so
the
it's-
Chromebook was like-
And hopefully as we get more technologies, like I said, and different stuff, it will allow you to be able to pull up and access and do and you know, just do a lot more. And I know with some of these programs we're looking at and getting, it'll be beneficial. So anything with that one? Okay. All right, we'll move on to my section. Yay. All right, so first one here, you're gonna see a huge increase in the budget for our wages. Because again, like we talked about yesterday, all of our wages for employees are being put in under their category. So again, 5% increase across the board for all employees, and there was an offset. Will be part of that as well. From sewer and water. The benefits, health benefits, para and payroll, that's all a percentage that comes out automatically. So those are just based off of the top salary wage, their number. Any questions about those sections?
So how does the offset from the water and sewer work?
What's that, Paul?
How does the offset from the water and sewer work?
So the water sewer pays for a portion of the employees' salaries. That was the intention with it going in 7.5 from water, 7.5 from sewer.
On this one.
Yep. And so with that, it's not something you'll necessarily see directly in here, but what'll happen is it's a transfer in, transfer out type of thing. The way Mike was explaining it to me was basically we'll transfer the money from those funds into 15% of what my salary would be into my salary thing. And it's, yeah. So that's kind of how that works.
City's charging.
Yeah, so. Okay, any other questions with that? All right, so we'll move into my lodging, meals, travel, membership stuff. Lodging, I broke it down by the different ones. MCMA, that's the Minnesota City Managers Association, their annual conference event, which is in Brainerd. The ICMA has an annual conference. Next year is in Tampa. I opted not to go to the Pittsburgh one this year because it's happening next week. So, and I knew we had budget stuff to be dealing with and getting done. So that kind of gives a breakdown, average per night for hotel, for the lodging. And then with Duluth, same thing, the same as your folks as to what that is. The IIMC, which is the, oh my gosh, the International Institute of Municipal Clerks, thank you. That's the other one. They've got an event in St. Louis. That is one that I'm part of. Just because I am the city clerk, I don't necessarily know that I intend on going. I did put a spot in there for it. I did leave it blank. It's not part of what I budgeted. And I just actually found out yesterday that they finally released where it was at. So I've been to St. Louis. I don't know.
That's
So,
a big of a thrill, huh?
alright, so
Especially downtown.
the arch is cool, but yeah.
That's it.
So that's kind of that. Again, you'll look at in here, lodging. I was gonna ask 25. I brought it because I didn't know what the Elms, that one's gonna be. I put in here 22. I could probably reduce it down to 2,000. You know, again, just putting numbers in there as placeholders was going a little bit higher just because I'm not sure what hotel costs are gonna be based off of availability.
And if we have to cut in December, you know, it'd
Yeah.
be something that you look at. But this,
Okay.
it's lean.
Okay, same thing with the meals, again, looking at the conference, they don't have an out-of-state rate. I know my previous employer, they had in-state and out-of-state rates, so I just based everything off of an in-state rate. Again, same thing, 60,
Stacked lunches.
Yeah.
Like lunches.
right?
It's a privilege to travel out of state.
Right? So I, put all those in there, and then again, 3 days for just, I don't know, if there's something else that pops up. That's how I get to that, 890 on there. I did round up to 900 to make it an even number, down from the 1,000 that I was originally gonna ask, so.
And with that, I, just as a point of information, I think it'd be good for us to even look at, as a city, look at a per diem. So then you don't have to worry where it's at, just set a per diem.
Well, and that's typically
the
what,
state rate.
that's what the
That
state
is the
rate is,
state's
the per diem.
Okay,
Yeah, that is their
okay,
per
I
diem.
see.
And I'm all for that. I think per diem
Yeah.
is the way to go, like,
Yeah.
cause it lays out, like, if you leave before this time, you don't get breakfast. If you
Right.
leave after this time, you get breakfast, lunch and dinner, like,
Hmm.
it lays out all the ground rules, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Can we turn off the fans?
That's good.
Actually, on the bottom part, I see we have city staff clothing. I thought we had that budget for this last year. We didn't do anything with it. It was in there.
I don't think for us.
We'll get that. I'm gonna finish with this. Travel's the same thing. You can see I broke down the travel. Florida's the Florida's the expensive one. And Tampa there with the IACMA. Again, that's one of those ones where just kind of estimating prices. I did look at some car rentals and what would be cheap or not. I will say with the ICMA stuff, there is the opportunity to get some scholarship money for a first time person as well. That scholarship is to help cover the annual, the fee for it. So there could be some reduction in that section of it. But I don't know that, I'd have to look at that process and how that goes, but, again, that's the travel rate. That's how I got to the number. I did reduce it to 2,500 because again, I don't know that necessarily going to Missouri or, you know, some of these, I may miss a meeting, may miss some of that. It's just, I put in for the max of what it is and that's where we're at with the number. So 2,500, everybody kind of comfortable with that?
So
Now,
your travel to, when you're flying out of Minneapolis, there's a parking lot fee 4 days, so.
And I can
That'd
tell
be
you,
Part of your travel.
well, actually, I wouldn't because I would park at my brother-in-law's place and I'd get an Uber over, so I wouldn't have
You
to.
park and ride out of Rochester too and fly up and not have to put your car there.
we just paid $210.
Yeah, because
That's
they do that every.
That's why I stay with family. Plus, it's in a secure place with cameras. I trust a little bit more.
Yeah.
No offense to MSP, but
Especially when I parked in for the week, it was good.
yeah. It just ultimately just saves on having that long-term fee. So, again, same thing with the memberships. These are all the different memberships, MCMA, ICMA, the LMC, which is our annual one, the AAME, which is the American, oh my gosh, that's a newer one that just started. It's a founding member for that this year. It is a city manager one.
Are you have any memberships, Renee?
Sure.
Yes, what am I in? McFoa and LMC, I think, are the
That-
two.
That'll be on the next one. Yep. Yep, so, so, yeah, and I'm not even part of the McFall one, that, I should probably be in that one over the IMC, but I got signed up for the IMC first. The McFoa, that's the Minneapolis version of the international, municipal clerks one, right?
Something like that.
I can't,
Minnesota,
there's so
think.
many acronyms.
I know, I don't.
So-
remember.
Again, it's fees, memberships, 3,500. like I said, some of these might miss some of the SE, MLM events, things like that. There's some other things I did put in there. Other options, so like I said, I reduced it down to 3,500 to cut off a little bit on the initial 4,000 I had looked at asking for. Any questions there? Okay. And then I did put in 1,000 for, city staff clothing. This one is only in mine, because it would be, just fall under me. I would be the one purchasing for all the city staff. And again, it's the same kind of thing, the polos, just some uniformity stuff, I think. So when we go to trainings, if they go to their school stuff, you know,
I think it's been good for Kane on what he's got going on. I think
Yeah.
it looks very professional what's going on. So.
but
And I've got my own.
Oh,
yeah, he's got his own thing.
No,
This is,
but I'm just saying with
Yeah.
what you're doing, I think that's.
but it's one of those things,
very
that- and I'm sure you've seen it at the events and you as well, you know, you go to these events, these cities, they've all got their polos with their stuff on it, and it looks sharp. So I think that's something that we should budget for and, you know, proceed with.
Well,
Without
keep in
being,
mind, maybe we need to save this for after, save the purchase of that stuff for after branding.
well, even something simple as City of Orinoco,
Yeah.
like just something to get us going is, you know, and there's, you know, I think is important to
good.
have.
City of Orinoco and the bridge is still
Yeah.
not bad, you know, so what we've got right now.
I
Um,
think this.
And then I did put some IT stuff in there in case I had some IT specific things for my department or for me. I don't know, I kind of knocked it out. I just left it at 1,000 for the clothing mostly. So yeah. Any questions on this? Okay. And move on to the next one here. Deputy clerk one, again, salaries, wages, you're gonna see an increase over last year's, just based off the fact we're lumping it all back into where they belong. Now, Renee's also, you'll see on this breakdown chart here, it does include the overtime hours. It gives a breakdown of her salary wages plus the 100 hours average, which is about 2 hours per week, overtime for the year. And that's where we're looking at for a total. I did round up to 71 to make the even number there. And then the employee health and para and payroll is all based off of that salaries and wages.
I mean, looking at this, though, with 23, 24, on the budget, yeah, I know that her salary was over 13,420 last year. So is that because of different areas that there were, you just didn't pull everything together? That
Yeah, it was just spread, hers was just, all this, all the, and I don't know if it was, I don't think it was for you. Was it for you guys too? Yeah.
Yeah.
Every city employee,
Yeah,
it was
It was all.
a percentage all over the place. And I just, it doesn't, I don't think it does well for
Hard to wrap your mind
transparency.
around.
Yeah,
You can't keep track.
exactly. So this is a better way where like, you know, my pay comes out of my bucket, you know, Renee's pay comes out of Renee's bucket. Like we get a true sense of where we're at for each person and how we're doing for the year.
And Renee's hours were up a lot last year because there are
Yeah,
people in the office and not people not here.
yeah. So,
Not overtime.
again, sorry, cut you off there, Paul.
I said, appreciate all she did.
So that looks good. Then we'll go again, lodging, meals and travel, all based as similar as what we did. Did put in the LMC event here, would like her to go to that this year if possible. And then her McFoa one. Don't know where that one's at. You went to that one last year?
No, last year I did not.
Which one did you go to last
I
year?
went to the Clerks Institute.
Clerks Institute, okay. Which is probably another one that could be added in here, but
Yeah, because I'll have to do year two. this
Yeah.
year.
So looking at that, she's got the Clerk Institute as well, which I totally forgot to put in here. As another event, but the McFall is the annual event, maybe, I don't know if you have interest in going to that annual event
I
or
like
not.
going to that.
Just a quick comment.
Yes,
You look at the employee health and benefits, this sheet here, at 15,138. But your budget had 14,200.
so. This one, the preliminary is gonna be the most accurate, if the numbers. I do know on my chart, there's a couple ones that I found were off, that I probably mistyped something or did a formula wrong. So this preliminary one is the one for a lot of it. They should match, but if there's discrepancies, this preliminary one is the one that's.
Starting
the
Well, this is
accurate
the
one.
ones you're asking.
Yeah, this was just kind of my write-up of asking, giving the explanation of more depth from
That's
here,
fine, as long as-
just so we know. So again, all the rates are laid out. I did 800 for lodging, reduced it a little bit. 600 for meals, again, reduced a little bit. And then 1,000, I kept 1,000 for travel, because I do a lot of travel as well. Her mileage reimbursement also is, she runs the post office and bank runs and things like that, so she does have some other mileage reimbursement, that would be there. Right, oh, I must have lumped that in under something here. Okay, yeah, there we go. Sorry, these are a little bit out of order on this one. But yeah, so travels 600 and fees and that is 1,000, there we go. So yeah, I reduced the travel one down. Depending on events, I don't know, that may need to go, but she's going to more events.
And the fees, so I'm assuming here you have the fees are 1410, and I'm assuming that's just because you have more stated numbers.
So yeah, so the fees 1410, so as you can see the breakdown here. There was again the 500 for any other training she might do in IT stuff. But then the McFall one, the annual membership is $50, and then the conference fee, you see it here, is $560. And then the $300 I rounded up from the annual event membership for the LMC as well.
Yeah, so that you have 1,000.
Yeah,
Instead of
yeah, I
keep that at
reduced, I
1,000.
reduced it.
Okay,
Cause again, I was going through, I'd initially sent off these numbers to Mike and Mike was like,
Yeah.
hey, you need to cut back. So I was
okay,
going through cutting back things and I'm like, we could probably do with a little bit more, but I feel comfortable with these numbers as
Yeah.
well. Cause as I look back, even in previous years, there's some things where, I mean, they're within the ballpark and I think we'll be okay with. So that's kind of why I left them there. Yeah, I'd be okay if we raised them. But, again, that's where I think it's comfortable with. Okay. There are no questions. We'll move on to the administrative assistant. This one should go fairly quick again. Salary, no benefits for part-time. And then we've got para and payroll in here. And then travel expenses, she does do some bank runs as well as post office runs, stuff like that.
and I'm wondering if we don't want to consider that position to do some of the LMC things. Because we really want to grow that person, right? Something, entry level, like an LMC training or, and maybe there's training on software or other things. I think I would like to see some
So
more training there.
want to see,
Or travel, I should
so
say,
if we move travel and just kind of make it an other that encompasses travel as well as training stuff.
But would $200 be enough?
No, we would, I'm just talking about renaming it. So that would be encompass all of it.
Yeah, maybe it can be a, travel hash training, and then bump that up. Cause I think we have to grow that person as well.
Okay, so other.
The travel we're changing to,
Travel, just, I'm putting other, and then in my notes, I'll have stuff in here for travel, a line for travel and line for training.
Yeah.
Maybe like a reimbursement type stuff, but
So the travel, you're gonna add other,
Yeah,
and a separate line for training.
no, we're
no,
that would
other
include-
training will go under other for this one.
Yeah, so it'd be like
Travel
a-
and training will
like a
go under
slash.
other.
Yeah.
So,
And then what do we want to bump that to?
I mean, thoughts on increasing? I would say 500, it provides 300 for some online training courses.
I was thinking like 8.
Yeah,
I would say
let's
8.
do
Bump it up
it.
to 800.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, anything else this one?
So what's that total out?
You're gonna add $600 to that, so you're gonna be just over 40,000.
40,094.
Again, this one's wrong. It had the health benefits in there. This sheet did, so this one's higher than this number. Like I said, there were a few things that didn't compute over the rate. So. Okay. All right, and now we come into our final two here. These are the bigger ones. I'm gonna take a drink of water if you don't.
Citywide.
It's filtered bottle water provided by the city, so.
Good
We're okay, Kate. We're okay. All right. So again, this one, you'll see salary, wages, employee, para and payroll. This is based off of the current position, the full-time position yet to be filled. That one was left under the financial administration section just to have the spot for that, all that information. So that's in there. Travel, again, you'll see change from mild expense. I just put in 1,000, unknown what that position would do for travel. I'm assuming there'll be some travel involved there. That can kind of help cover some of the other associated costs that may pop up as well with that. Financial administration, I view this as overseeing a lot of the finances, that covers a lot of the citywide finances. So you're gonna see categories in here that cover citywide finances. So instead of having them spread out amongst each department, they're going to be all here under city finance, because we deal with the finances in-house here. We deal with the insurance, we deal with cell phone reimbursements, everything's coming out of this office, so we're lumping it under the financial administration of this department.
Honestly, I'd like to see if there's anything that we're contracting out from a financial perspective, you know, for finances. Is there anything that we can grow into this position?
That'll be
Not that
something-
that's gonna affect this right now.
Yeah. So you'll see cell phone reimbursement. This one's listed 4,000. You look at all employees, right now, it's $55 a month for 6 employees. Times 12 months gets you 3,900 and something dollars, so it's just under 4,000, so round it up to 4,000. That, again, that's part of the all city employees. Office supplies, I left it 8,000. I saw in 2023, we had 9,000. This year, we're sitting at about a little over 4,000. I do feel that that's a good number to have as we kind of ebb and flow. Office supplies, costs go up and down and all around, and depending on what may need covers, that would be a good thing to help cover any office supplies we may need. Postage delivery was 1,700. That was a recommendation from Mike Bubani because there was, you know, potential for having to mail out more stuff as we grow with developments and things like that. So that's why we're seeing the increase. Right now, we're already at about $1,200. I know we're also putting out the newsletter a little more frequently and doing some other stuff. So, you know, I feel that that's a good number. If it was to go down, I wouldn't want it to drop below 1,500 is my thoughts.
Is that on the bulk mail rate? Is that?
Yes, so,
Most of the citywide mailings are on that anyway, aren't they?
I believe so.
If we do the city,
No, not because the other ones, we got individual stamps on all the utility bills and everything like that, so. Memberships and fees, again, depending on new position coming in. I put your LMC and then there, I'm sure there would be some more, depending on a finance person or whatever other position. Again, covering any memberships, fees for conferences, things like that, it's kind of all encompassing for that. I felt
That higher than yours.
maybe. Great question.
Higher than what?
Higher than mine, what mine was. No, I don't think so. I know I was asking you, come on. No, mine's at 35 yours. So, I mean, realistically, I mean, it'd probably drop it to 2,000 to say 500. I would be
Well,
comfortable with that.
we can worry about that in December. I think it's better to leave it at 25 now.
I'll mark it for reevaluation in December.
Master.
That way we know. If we need to drop a little bit, okay, contract labor,
Is this the onsite or?
because we're 27,000.
Some of it, I believe, is Shirley's.
Yeah, that's what it was,
There.
sorry, Shirley, that was the part-time temporary that was in filling. She had a majority of that, the rest of it was around, I think hers was like 25 or 26,000 of that. Actually, and you can see if you just flick through here, let's see the. Financial, let's see here.
Yeah, we were at 27,000.
Page 5 of the finance one, so towards the back. Each section is its own page number, so it's gonna be towards the back half of this. Contract labor. Yeah, outside of that, I think there was maybe like $500. $600 that was not, it was for Kyler Tech stuff, or Merchant Business Tech. So. Yeah, that was most of hers, so. Hence the reduction. Down into that. 2023 was like a little over 3,000, then it was dropped to 1,000. I was okay with 1,100. Thoughts, concerns? Could move on.
Yeah.
Okay, subcontracted services 12.5, you'll see in here. Onsite was a lot of that. There was also 12,000 of that was for my hiring with my position, so Mike from South Central. I left it at that because initially I wasn't sure what it was. You know, I'm not sure what other subcontracted services we would use, so that would be somewhere where I think we could cut back on significantly if we need to.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd be comfortable cutting it back to like 6,000 right now, just to be on the safe side, because I'm looking at previous years where it was around 6,000 was actual.
But I'd like to leave that where we're at too, because again, it's better to be
Okay.
on the plus side
So we'll
of this in
look
September
at that and,
and then come back down.
Yeah, if we have to make a.
Yeah.
okay.
That sounds good.
So we'll leave that one for now. We'll reevaluate in December. Workers' comp insurance. So this one is gonna be one where you're gonna see an increase. If you actually flip to behind this, you'll see the insurance payouts that we have from North Star. I'm gonna explain this a little bit here. So I went through, had to do the insurance in May. That was like right when I was getting started, kind of got put into my lap. Like, oh, hey, by the way, we gotta renew this.
What number are we on?
If you're in this preliminary, you flip the preliminary page
Oh,
to the next, behind the financial one, you're gonna see some attachments. This is the summary of our insurance here. So you'll see with our property insurance, property insurance is down, we'll kind of talk about both these. There was a dramatic increase. Property we added a $48 million wastewater treatment facility plus pumps and all that grinder stations and stuff like that. So we added a lot of physical property. So we saw an increase in with mobile property. I'm guessing that's like generator and things. Equipment as well went up. So our municipal liability, automobile, we added the fire truck as well as the brush truck. So those went up. Then you come into, so that jumped us from 25 last year, almost 26 to up to 58,000 this year. And then workers' compensation, this is the one that really had me. I met with the LMC people as well as with our actual North Star risk insurance. I met with the vice president of them as well to have them explain this to me because I saw this jump up. I have no idea how Sunny previously had these numbers down at the 16,000 versus the 23. You know, it's one of those where I attached the different ones from both years. And basically you'll see it's based off of the remuneration and the rate. So basically you're timesing this to get to these numbers. It's the remuneration's estimated payroll for each section. And then, the rate is calculated into there. And so, like I said, I wanted to make sure I was right because it jumped and I was worried about that. And I met with these people and they assured me this is right. And they also said, if we get audited, we may have to owe something, because I don't know how this was done. They couldn't figure out how this was done, and these numbers were so low last year compared to this, because we only added one new employee. And that was Caleb, that would fall under the workman's comp stuff, and, you know, rightfully so. The first response, like the fire's a little bit higher because they can be prone to injury, but public works section as well is high just because they're prone to injuries. That's why their workman's comp section is so high. So it's a shock. It was a shock to me, but I want you guys to understand what it is, and I wanted to make sure we budgeted for it appropriately. So that's why you're gonna see in here, workman's comp is at 24,000. I just rounded up from the 23,629. And then the municipal liability insurance is 59,000, again, rounded up from the 58,095.
So this workman's comp that covers the fire department.
Yeah, that covers everybody. It does, it covers everybody. And so if you flip kind of to the, say the third one here, you'll see this breakdown here, of each department.
It runs from May to May. too.
We'll go to 101.
It's not a calendar.
Yeah, each thing in here, and it's,
So that's highlighted on that part.
so,
Firefighters.
but yeah, is there any questions on those two? I wanted to make that kind of explain that, because that was one of those ones that,
Well, it's good that there's an understanding.
yeah, like I said, I had to ask and I had to have meetings with people because I'm not an insurance agent, it's not my world, and I was worried I didn't fill out the paperwork right. And I was assured, no, we filled out the paperwork right, this is what it is, and, you know, so that's
I
what
think all of us are faced with that in our
Yeah.
homeowners too, and everything
Oh,
else.
crap.
Areas. It's just, it's got crazy this last year.
Yeah, so there are significant jumps in that, and that's why.
So, it comes-
Bond insurance, not really sure what that is. We have nothing to date, nothing budgeted last year, but the year before we budgeted with nothing. I put 200 as a placeholder. If anybody knows what the bond insurance stuff is.
Never spent.
But the only thing I can think of is, you know, sometimes you have to be bonded with certain things. I don't know if there's a cost for doing that in our positions.
2023, we had an expenditure of 564, so.
Well, that was
It
budgeted.
was budgeted,
Or
yeah.
push, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I left it to, I think it's okay, leave it at 200
Yeah.
personally, just in case something pops up.
What would we bond for?
Well, it would be an employee being bonded, covered type of thing.
Well, would that have to do with, notary stamp, stuff like that?
No, it's
Well,
where
they're
you're
usually
bonded.
bonded.
Like at the VFW, we're bonded, it's like for $15,000, depending how much money you have in your bank checking account.
Oh, gotcha.
So for like $15, you can get bonded for 15,000, but when you're talking about $800,000 or $1 million, it might be a lot more. I don't know.
Yeah.
Number is, but
It's an insurance type thing.
it might be part of our LMC stuff too.
Well, I know in the thing, it does talk about the bond employee dishonesty one, which is about 393 this year. So I don't know if that is what that is supposed to be that's covering that. That was the only thing I could think of outside of that. Again, I'm okay leaving it, I'm okay taking it out. Thoughts?
Bucks, you just needs about $200.
Pays the obligee.
$200 is no big deal.
Fails.
Okay.
Well, we put it down there that we can pull out later.
It's on- go.
Yeah.
Plenty
If
of
it's,
them.
if you want to go zero, just assume you'll go to
Change it.
six expenses.
Yeah, I'm not super worth $200.
Change it to zero.
So
We need
it's just-
$200, we can find $200.
No, but I'm just saying this way will just be a placeholder for this one, and then if we need to reduce it. Afterwards, we can pull it out.
There's not gonna be a question, you're probably reducing it anyway.
You know, you originally had that in as 500.
Yeah.
You know, and so you went from 500 to 200.
Well, like, he was just looking up,
Yeah.
he was talking about, what you were saying?
But it's about, a bond fails to meet the price and it's for the obligee, the bond insurance takes care of the balance. that falls below the bonds fall below.
So if we had bonds issued as a city, basically then?
Well, like we had to bond for the bridge. right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So,
the crossover bridge. Or-
yeah, so if the bonds don't pay out, the plan is then.
so we'll leave it in for now. Okay. Open meeting law insurance, there really hasn't been anything in the books. And nothing's been used, so that was left blank. Same with property mobile insurance. I don't even know what that is. There is a mobile property already included in our premium for this, so I assume that was something with that. So that was left blank. Umbrella insurance. Again, there's something that's been in there. I don't know what the city considers umbrella insurance.
We used it in 2023.
Liability probably of some sort.
Yeah, we had 1419 in 2023.
Yeah,
Is
so,
that part of LMC insurance? Can we get charged a premium?
Well, it's generally umbrella insurance is because it goes over the top, because something goes over the top of your normal policy.
yeah, so,
Somebody wants to sue you.
Unless it was damages or something.
Covered under.
Maybe check with North Risk and just see
I'll do that. I'll check.
if it is included.
Do what with it, Ryland?
Check with
Check with
North.
North Risk, our insurance partner.
Okay, I'll check with them on that one. Volunteer insurance, again, nothing and nothing, so I left it blank. Bank fees, this year we did get some reimbursement on bank fee stuff. I do know with our credit cards, we have a $99 annual fee for that, so I left it at $100 bank fee. Any fees beyond that, they get billed out to the departments usually, so there's no specific bank fees that I foresee coming up, so. Technology expenses, this is where you'll see on the next page in here, a breakdown of this and where coming from. This is kind of the big item. I initially wanted to ask for a lot more, but you'll see a breakdown of our technology expenses. This is an all-encompassing type of thing here. So we've got BevCom, where we're looking at approximately $275 a month. BevCom is our phones and stuff like that. That's just for them. On-site budget 8,400, approximately 700 a month. That includes tech support and things for our computers. Diligent, which was recently approved. We've got that budgeted in there this year for the next year's price when it's due. Adobe, I did purchase an Adobe. It's an annual price so we can work with PDFs. So we at least have one person in our office that can do stuff with PDFs and do that. Tri-State is our printers. We do have stuff with that. I did get a printer upstairs and for my office area, I know I'd like to, our contract, because we're on contracts with the printers, lease to own type of contract. That was signed before I was here. So that one will eventually come up here in the next few years, the one that's in our office. I'd like to move that one downstairs and plan on getting a new contract signed for a new one here downstairs in our file room. So we're not running back and forth if we got to make copies and stuff like that. Since we will own it. The other thing with that is part of why I was looking at technology for you guys and doing all these things is right now, I think we've spent $6,000 on copies that are on site. A lot of that's based off just printing out stuff. So it's a lot of money we're spending on printing off stuff. So, you know, I left it with the 6,000 to help cover some printing costs and some maintenance costs and some other costs. In the hopes that we get this technology moving forward and we're printing out less as a city overall.
The object of email 35 years ago.
Right? So
Paper increases.
then you got Catalyst in here. That's our city website. And then finance software, I know that one got kind of put on hold. I did keep that in the budget in there with the hopes that we can get something through there. So that's why that's in there. That is the amount that would be for 2025, not including the 2020. That's not including the stuff we would do this year. And as you can see, this year to date, we're sitting at 11,300 of the 40,000 budgeted. So we do have room to help pay for some of those new technologies. Another one that we'll be looking at presenting that Renee and I just met with a couple different companies for a mobile app for citizens. Zimbrota uses one and it's through GoGov is the one that we kind of liked. We'll be presenting that later. But things like that, so we can allow the citizens more access and they can have it on their mobile phones. And there's different technologies we're looking at to help advance us as a city to be more transparent and communicate with everybody in an efficient way, because we're finding a lot of people don't like the Facebook. So, you know, it's one of those things that if we can offer more options for the citizens, for technology, for them to be able to interact with us, I think it's gonna help make a lot of people happy. I will say with the finance software, we have had a lot of people come into our office and talk and request like, hey, how can we help get this program? Specifically the BSNA stuff after it was presented and talked about, there was people that were asking about because they were watching this. But overall as well, we've had a lot of people come in and request, you know, hey, we want to be able to do this stuff online. We want to be able to pay this. We want to be able to see back stuff online. And they're the company that will offer that to the citizens. So I think it's a win-win if we can budget for it and get it going. I did also include new softwares and IT hardware. I think, you know, security would be included in that, IT hardware, update some of our stuff. I know there's been some computer updates in our office. But just overall, just to make sure we're good. Like I said, you'll see in here, my initial request was gonna be 110. I did drop that back down to 80. Just to kind of help reduce the budget. So that's how we got to the 80,000. It is double from last year's, but I think, you know, it's encompassing a little bit more because I combined some things. Previously, you'll see it renamed, there was computer and internet expenses and we had an internet one. So I'm just trying to rename it technology expenses and make it more understandable.
Can you update on the actually looking at new city software or new city website? Is that budget being done this year or is that next year?
So the updated for the website,
Yeah. City.
that's a free of charge thing.
Okay.
So I was talking with them and they do like every, I don't remember how many years, 2, 3, 4 years, they do a refresh, like, hey, you're a customer, we'll refresh your stuff. Didn't know that. I don't know if anybody knew that. So I worked with them and we've got a refresh coming, hopefully end of September, mid-October is what we're looking at. So, yeah, it's been redesigned, redone, and it's in the queue for on their side to get it refreshed. So, thoughts, comments? Okay, we'll move on. Internet expenses, just cover, and I don't know. If BevCom, but also I look at that if we need to update, anything else that's it's IT technologically related stuff. Again, it was a box, there was a filler. I'm okay with nothing, but you know, we've, again, looking at where we're at this year, that's already above what we put there,
Because we're at
2,600.
26.
So I'd like to keep 1,000 there. It's one of those ones where if something happens or if we need to update something in an emergency, that's maybe not
Well, we've
BevCom.
got internet down at Kane's, you got it here, you got it out the sewer plant, right?
Yeah, but if we gotta buy some, you know, we gotta buy a new router that's not BevCom, like if we've gotta buy some of this stuff, that's where it would come under the internet expense, yeah.
But now, so isn't this our internet charges just for the service?
The 2,600. You got
The
2,650 over there.
26? Yeah, and I-
For actual year to date, you're at
yeah,
2,650.
you've got 26 and you budgeted 1,000.
Yeah, so with Bev, you're talking,
No, this was just.
No,
under-
this is
internet, this has nothing to do with your.
Yeah, this is out of the way, so yeah,
Bevcom has its own lines.
yeah.
Right.
So we budgeted 727 in 2023. But we're already actually over
Right,
1,000.
cause that's.
Oh,
very-
those,
their
that 2020,
service rate.
that 2026, that's the Catalyst one. That's why it's,
No, but you got,
sorry, that 2650.
you
Yeah,
have 2650 for
Yeah.
year to date on this, on,
Yeah, so that's Catalyst, which I moved into the one up, the technology expenses. So
Oh,
this
so
is all
that's
confusing.
technology.
Yeah, so the
Okay.
Catalyst was under, our website was under the internet charges, which is the charge you see here. That I'm moving up into technology expenses. And we will have internet as more of
so our
a.
BevCon bill actually covers the internet for all three facilities, right?
Yeah.
It should.
Should.
I believe our internet part is free. We just pay for the phone part of it, which there's then underneath your telephone charges.
Yeah, cause it's a networked phone. I don't know, it's the way it's all done up is.
Okay.
I also know we're getting some new phones. Hopefully soon we ordered those.
End of this week
Good.
sometime.
So we've had some issues with our current phones dropping out mid-call. So they do have some new updated phones that we are getting. They've already been purchased and they're on their way. So excited for those. But again. That would,
for the office then?
what?
Is that for the office setup?
Yeah. So,
Are you connected with that too, Kane?
We're gonna get the old phones.
well, and hopefully with some of this, we can update with that. So what they're doing is they didn't have phones to begin with. They had one central phone, if I remember right. And so what we did was we've now moved our phone, moving our phones down to there. They've got the phones, so each person at their desk now has a phone line. Correct? Will, yes. And then, so it'll be like a rotation of getting new technologies to come through and get updated. So. But. Prudent too to have everybody have their own line, so. Okay, again, telephone expense was,
The CARES line. Okay. Sign that account number or something different.
yeah, some of these, I wasn't sure, what these were, the CARE Act expense, if we've got something different that we wanna rename this one. Ken, I left it, I don't have anything else to add, really.
The American Rescue Plan, you look over on 2024, there's $3,073.
Yep,
And we use that has to be used up by December 31st of this year. So we're
Is that still in the
thinking
bank?
about using it for some of the signs, new community center signs,
if we can get reimbursed for that.
and reimburse so that we could zero that out. It's part of public information aspect of the American Rescue Plan. So we started out with $76,000.
Well, and the other thought was for Public Works to use it for signage for them as well, okay? So that would go to your,
Talking the shot Tracy,
yeah, for,
Signage.
you know, because we want to do the Public Works shop as well as the wastewater treatment facility stuff. So
So if you wanna, we'll confirm that number. Pretty sure.
is that something that we would get again this?
No.
No?
No, it's a
Okay.
one-time deal.
Okay, I'm just looking at this
We got that.
2025. I zeroed that out because I didn't think we would
It's,
get.
it's okay, zero is correct.
Okay.
It's just that we need to pass a
Just want
resolution.
to make sure, I was like, oh, shit.
And what can it be used for? 'Cause I'm assuming it's certain things, right?
Public information is one of like our message boards.
Okay,
We use that.
not equipment.
We'll use it for the mics and stuff in here.
Audio system and stuff.
Be used for a digital sign on the road.
Yeah, we're using 50,000 of that. Was for the two
It's talking
messages.
like a speed sign.
No, he's talking about the big one here and the one over across.
So that's, yeah, but it could also be used for the speed limit sign, right?
You mean the
Oh,
30
yeah,
mile
we
an hour
want
one?
that.
Yeah.
another radar sign it could
Radar
be
sign.
used for, yes.
We got two of those.
It could be. Like Ryland said, it's for public,
Communication.
Information.
yeah.
Okay, we'll continue on here. Grant reimbursement, I left that blank. We haven't had anything the last few years. I don't even know why reimbursement would be under the expenditures. So miscellaneous expenses that got rounded up, you'll see, our miscellaneous expenses this year was from the interview process. It looks like all the people that interviewed were reimbursed for their stuff here, so that's where those come from. and then whatever other miscellaneous.
So, yeah,
And I
that's
think
really all that was under miscellaneous.
that's all we have for now, and I think the big part with the miscellaneous is if there's something that falls under this where we start to run over or we don't have, because we don't have a line item for it, that's where that other miscellaneous type of
They
thing.
use 1,500.
Who's gonna be?
So.
Yep,
Yeah, maybe that, we can just earmark that one if we need to
okay,
shave some off.
okay, so I'll mark that in 12.
Yeah, because we had in 2023, 9,192, we used 253.
Yeah. So. All right, any other questions on that one? Okay.
Oh, just a general comment before we go to community center. And I'm not sure where it would go, but we talked about this earlier this year, but it was voted, wasn't approved. So we talked about having a pay grade, a study, ranking being done by the quotes we got, so we got RFPs for that, but it was voted down, so I think we really, and it's too late to do anything from now regarding our budget, but I do think we really need to seriously look at doing a pay grade study and a ranking through each pay grade and go through that process, because all of these salaries that we're talking about, we're still at risk because we have to fill out a pay grade equity or pay equity report to the state. And every position has a ranking and a number, male, female, years of service and everything. So until we do that pay grade study to match the state pay grades, we're running ourselves at risk. Pine Island just did one 4 or 5 years ago. Pine Island, they were in violation, and that was $100 a day until they got their pay realigned for their entire staff. So we need to seriously look at doing that because it is important. I don't know where it fits in with our salaries today. I have no idea. It could be less, could be more. But the point is, we're at risk of not having that pay grade study done.
So I would recommend if we're gonna look at adding, I don't wanna say adding money to it, I would look at I would look at subcontracted services and the miscellaneous, pulling money from there for something of that nature.
And where's that at? I'm sorry.
On the, under financial administration, the subcontracted services, which both of that was used this time for, the hiring of the city administration position. And then miscellaneous as well, you know, something like that, I think that would fit under either one of those to be able to do that, because I would look at that as a subcontracted service to do a pay study or whatever the case may be. To do that.
Is that the-
But one thing I will mention though too, just to add to that is, and I think at some point we need to do it, but whenever we're setting salaries for new positions, we call LMC and they're the ones that give us the range that, and it's based across the state.
Is that where we get that today?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We contact LMC and they say, okay, for this position, and this number of years of experience, well, they said it takes in consideration flexibility in terms of years of experience. They say it's from this number to this.
Okay, well, that should keep us in line with what the state would want for this
Yeah.
program.
Yeah,
That's probably, I appreciate you guys doing that because it does help us. But what it would help us identify your grades as you go through a labor grade or a
And we'll go into that when
deputy
we
clerk.
discuss
as you go
that
through a
later.
ranking.
So I think that would be a later discussion to have. So I just want to keep us on track here with this, so. Kane's yawning over there. I can see that out of the corner of his eye. He's gonna fall asleep here. Keep him awake here. So.
Kicks in,
Right.
put himself to sleep.
So the last one here, community center. This one's cut back a lot of stuff. This one, Kane's here also for this. This is kind of his baby area. We took out the salaries, wages, payroll taxes, because again, that was something that was split amongst the community center. Why? Reimbursement expenses. There's always been something there. I don't know what reimbursement expenses for the community center would be. So I took those out. We haven't used them in the last few years. And I don't feel that's a line item need.
Is this maybe in and out, people paying fees to use the community center?
No, I would think it would be more like, well, now we have our credit cards and stuff, but I was wondering if we could buy supplies and then get reimbursed. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe we get rid of it.
so, zero that out. Supplies, I did, again, in my reduction after time with Mike. Kane had asked for 2,400 in here. I did 2,000. I do see we're over for supplies by quite a bit. I don't know what all the supplies for the community center entail.
Some of that is the desks.
Didn't you buy a new vacuum cleaner and some of the other stuff there with that?
That would have been, R&M buildings.
Okay.
Basically toilet paper,
Cleaning
Yeah,
supplies,
cleaning supplies.
disposables, yep.
sidewalk salt, stuff like that.
So yeah, so
Wow.
I lowered it to the 2,000, he kind of kept it at the 2,400. I don't know if that's something we wanna gain thoughts. Honest.
I'll talk when we get to the bottom, how's that?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, cause we're.
So, I don't know, thoughts?
I would say we'll earmark it to look at it in December, then maybe we'll know more by then.
I mean, we're already over it by
We're
almost
already
double,
over.
Yeah, double.
Yeah,
so,
Big time.
I mean, it's only September.
okay. The STS and CS work crews. Kane, you pulled that one out, right?
Yeah, you know, if we really want STS and community work service crews, it's very difficult to get them right now with the county. The county is taking care of their own properties, their own parks, their own facilities. We get them for Gold Rush because we've had a relationship built over the years. But if I called them right now, they'd say, Kane, we'll see you in 6 months, you know, they,
And Steve had it was a county park when Steve was first getting them out here.
yep.
So we reduced that to nothing. And I think honestly with the work crews, depending, if for Gold Rush, that could be built out for them. Later, that could be a relationship we help them grow into, so. Boiler and property insurance, those were removed. Those got folded up into our insurance coverage again. So those are out of there. The telephone expenses, I removed that. Because we were putting like our telephone expenses into here under the community center. And to me, I look at the community center. This is the community center.
Yeah.
And the bathrooms and that, there's no telephones service to the community center that I'm aware of. Maybe, I don't know, township
was.
downstairs. I don't know how theirs.
They just have electricity.
Yeah, so it's one of those. I pulled that one. I didn't think we needed it in there because we'll be, our telephone expenses will be under the financial admin side of things now. So electricity. Rounded up on electricity and heating. Just because you never know what's gonna be with the weather and how, I don't know this building in the winter time. I'm learning it in the summertime. So,
Your boiler helps out, right?
No.
Yeah, there's no heat the second level. Did you hear?
perfect. Thank you goodness. I get so hot,
thanks for cutting.
right?
No.
So,
Taking these, moving back down.
our room here I go.
Fighting over the main.
Right.
Scoot on
He's
over.
moving in, Renee.
Yep.
We're gonna fit 3 of us in there. So yeah, so those were kind of, again, looking at the numbers from year to date and comparative to last year, they were pretty low, but I think we went up, just rounded up from the previous year up 100 and thoughts.
That's good.
Okay. Repair and maintenance building 36. You'll see we've used 10,000 of that. A lot of that's been upgrades to like the office spaces and repairing and maintaining the building as far as getting rid of certain things and their crews coming in and cleaning up the space. There are a lot of other things I would like to see from my safety and security side. I'd like to replace some of these doors. Kind of like our office door, have upgraded doors and equipment and just kind of update some of these areas. The other reason I left it so high is after this last big rainstorm, when we had water coming through the roof, I want them, you know, we have a lot now, but I'm going to have them in the winter months here as we come into it, start to look up there and see what needs to be replaced and taken care of. And I got the feeling there's gonna be a lot of repair maintenance into this building coming up, and into next year. So hence why I left it at 36,000.
Roofing is expensive.
Yeah, and if we need roofing, like, it's just, and it was leaking in multiple spots, so it's one of those things you know, it's not just the bell tower, it was like all over. So I'm really concerned with this facility. So,
Leave it
yeah,
up there, Kane?
Yeah, I have, so to kind of add to what Jason's talking about, not to steer everyone in a different direction, but the city should seriously start looking at space needs for the city. And I don't know if that's a committee, I don't know if that's another, whatever we want to form, but this building is not the best building for what we're doing. You got 3 floors, 3 levels of where staff are going to every day, right? It's costing $8,700 to heat the place. It's aging. There's no makeup air units. There's no ventilation. There's, you know, we're afraid to touch things because of the A word and the handicap accessibility, and there's multiple things against this building. This building is not adequate. And I just want to get that out there. Instead of putting $36,000 a year into this old facility, that 36 could start going towards a newer facility, a newer city hall, a newer community center. And I just want to make sure.
Something we might pay less per year overall to getting something.
It's gonna take years to.
and it's, I'll say,
Well,
we need a new city hall, we need a new community center, we need a new multi-purpose facility, the fire department needs more room. There's a lot of stuff out there, and at the LMC conference, I met with a few vendors, it was great. There was a few vendors that do just that kind of stuff, and they help work with you through the whole project. I'll, again, just echoing what he said, I think council will need to take that up, and it needs to happen. We're growing, the city's growing. Nobody likes to support new city halls is what I keep being told, but it's one of those things, we need the infrastructure to support the city. And I think would behoove the city council to start looking at that and taking it seriously and trying to figure out, okay, what are we gonna do? And should we budget for that next year? My personal thought is yes. I don't know where, I don't know how much, and, you know, I don't know how much pushback it'll get from the citizens and how much you'll want to push back against them. I know last year's budget was a struggle for everybody. But sometimes there's a good fight needs to be had, and that's one of those things where I think, you know, it's not going to be a slow, or it's not gonna be a quick process by any means. This is, you know, you're looking at a 5-year commitment to get through this, but starting the process now, we gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, because you're probably looking at 3 to 5 years just to plan and
Mhm.
know what it's
It'll
going
be
to
a
be,
couple
where it's
years,
going to be.
yeah.
And if we can start it now, then we'd be ahead of the game. You know,
So-
do it before you absolutely need to have it.
You know, it's one of those. Yeah, so repair maintenance. Obviously, there's gonna need to be money kept there, but I think that's where I get into my thought with the miscellaneous expense as well for the community center. You know, we upped it to 11, we could up it a lot more to help cover, you know, starting to look at what is this gonna cost? Meeting with a company, and I'll be honest, it's probably $20,000 to $30,000 to have these companies do a full evaluation, and they will do mock-ups of a building, they'll do help with land stuff, like they'll do it, but it's gonna cost money to do it. And this was, again, just from talking to a few vendors at the LMC that were there during the big open section, the exhibition. So, you know, it's one of those things that I've got a few contacts, and I think I've showed some of you some of the flyers, things that I got, like, we could really make a great facility for the city, but now's the time to do that. So if there's thoughts on wanting to change it, I'm all for it. Just know that it's gonna increase this year, but hopefully as we grow as a city too, those expenses will maintain, but ultimately cost people less because we're having a higher tax base being brought in.
I think I like the idea. because I do think it is warranted. It's like, this is just the one concern that we had this year is what we're going to, their budget for the year in percent increase, because we took a pretty good
Yep.
increase last year.
And the year.
And I'm not saying this isn't worthy of another increase, but I think a lot of the things we're doing in this budget is setting us up to be in a good position to take it to the next step, because basically because of the technology, we're taking care of a lot of those things right now.
So,
Not that we can't have a volunteer.
so what I'll tell you is right now as the budget sits, not including any adjustments today, and I don't know if I put in some of the adjustments from yesterday, which I don't know if they're necessarily were major ones. Right now, we're looking at the tax rate of 51.9%, which is an increase of 10.3 from last year, which from my understanding was significantly less. But our levy's sitting at 35.2% increase this year.
Sitting at what?
35.2% based off of just how the budget's set right now. Now, obviously, again, we look at cutting, but I will tell you that tax rate, I've talked with cities in our area, in our county. I just got off I had a meeting, a check-in meeting with Al from Byron, the city administrator over there. And, you know, they're consistent with theirs, you know, they just finished their budget stuff and they're, you know, they had a slight increase or maybe not a whole lot, but their tax rate's consistent at about 10% higher than what we're at right now anyways. They're sitting at 60 something, 61, 62% in that range. So we still are low even with this for our area.
Is that of our?
Last year, our general levy, the tax rate was 41.6%.
Of our taxability,
Yeah,
our ability to tax.
yeah, that's our ability to tax rate,
We were at what percent?
41.6, which is extremely low for the area.
No, and I'm with Ryland. I'm all for it. I would rather not see it, maybe give us taxpayers a little bit of a break. And I think the plan should is to start, you know, put a communication plan together, to start communicating that, hey, we have to start looking at this. And in that communication plan, put these numbers that you've put together to say, this is really what our current city hall is costing us. And then there's some things that you can't measure. So I like the idea, but I would rather not do it.
Well, it is-
This coming year,
Well, I
we
think-
can start to plan.
I think this is all predicated too by the growth we're gonna see.
Yeah.
Whether it's residential or
Commercial,
commercial,
whatever.
but that's gonna help support anything we do going forward 2 to 3 years from now.
Well, at a certain point, you know, if you're looking at replacing a facility, you're gonna be starting to cut back on the maintenance on the one you currently have. So, you know, where do you go with that? You don't wanna cut that currently, 'cause right now.
So we got the
Okay,
roof that's
we need-
leaking, it's
We need
gonna
to keep
be
this place going.
yeah, to get
That
it
roof is a
down.
mess up there
Right.
right now. So.
I think there's ways to think about that is you do the bare minimum, you get by,
Right.
right? You just get by. Now, 5 years from now, say we were to move out of this facility into a new facility, right? What would we take with us?
And what are you gonna do with this? You know, is it on the historical registry?
No.
So we don't have to worry. Okay.
So back to what I'm saying though is what would you take out of this building? You take the documents, the files, the computers,
Some
the
furniture.
Yeah.
big screens, some furniture. We're not talking a lot of value to that stuff, right? When you take this whole building, there's not a,
Sentimental.
right, so. And by then, in 5 more years, are these computers and technology we currently have gonna be obsolete? And the chairs worn out and the desk and,
They're not obsolete today, you buy that stuff.
Chairs.
right, so I just, you know, for me, maintaining this facility is. Having the understanding from council and other staff that we're gonna do the bare minimum here. We're gonna keep this place going,
Keep the lights on.
we're gonna keep the lights on.
So with my thought with this, looking at this budget, I look at repair and maintenance and miscellaneous with what we have currently budgeted. I go, okay, well, if we decide to move forward next year with, let's have someone come out and help us. Well, to me, repair and maintenance, repairing the building and maintenance of it and miscellaneous, I can say all those expenses are, would fall under those categories. So whether that be, this is the site to build it, or, or the another one, but to me, it would be a repair and maintenance of this facility and these grounds. So in my mind, I could articulate that those costs could be absorbed under either one of those if that's something that council agrees with, but, or thinks is okay. But otherwise, yeah, we'll probably have to look at changing some of those expenses. Thoughts?
Well, I do think it's worthy of, kind of agree with Jim, what he was saying too, but I do think we need to set, at the very minimum, say in, by 2028.
Well, we're not making decisions. I want to make sure we're doing this clear. We're not making decisions. I'm just looking for these two numbers, repair maintenance and miscellaneous. Are we comfortable with those or do we
Yeah.
want to increase those?
I
Okay,
mean, we gotta do something with the roof right now. There's no question.
because and that's gonna
Yeah,
eat up a
that's
lot of
gonna-
repair and maintenance. That's why I get into if we 11,000 to try and do to contract in. I mean, realistically, we'd probably be looking closer to 20 to get an adequate work started on this stuff. Not saying that all those costs would be used up front right away, depending on a contract with the company. Obviously, it could be extended out into 2026. So that's where I look at miscellaneous would need to be increased. But
Well, if you don't maintain this building, the maintenance, then you're basically saying you're gonna tear it down.
well, I mean, yeah, we're gonna maintain the building so it's habitable, but
I mean,
as best we can. But again, yeah, there's forward thinking. I think everybody's kind of on the same page where we're gonna need to change something,
So
but.
let's talk about the roof. What do we think? I'm
I
with
haven't
you.
been up there.
This-
I saw 5 different leaks that night.
But are they coming from one place? Do you know?
The
Kane?
coop- They're coming from the cupola, I guess you'd
Oh,
call it,
yeah.
the center of the building.
Yeah,
So the rain was coming sideways.
We had a driving rain. that
Well, there was
night.
also from the windows up here too, was coming down,
Yeah,
It's not the first time.
and it's not the
You
first
think
time.
you could get an estimate to us by September 20th,
as far as,
rates to fix here. So we can still include these extra dollars
Yeah, because we could adjust it, because it could be just a
for the
flashing issue
25th at the
too.
very latest.
yeah, we could definitely take a look at it.
That would help solidify the
Yeah,
numbers. What the
absolutely.
numbers.
Okay, so we're gonna leave these numbers in here, 36 and 11.
Are there any
Yeah, leave those in there
Maybe
now.
we
and
can
then
access
after
it,
this-
save them.
Yeah, and we can talk about it afterwards.
Well, it's up to
I
the
think you
people,
brought a
just the
good
bell,
point
right?
up on that, so.
I don't think there's anything up there.
All right, so that's all I have for those sections. Is there anything else? Any comments, questions, concerns? All right,
Good.
I'm done.
Good job.
Riley,
Jason.
Close at 6:30.
Good job, good job.
Get us done sooner, but, sometimes I knew it was gonna be a long talk with you, so this is what it is.
But I know, I can tell you with Google, I've got two of them.
Yeah.